Hi everyone and welcome to Havegood online classes. I am Latika and I have keen interest in social studies. It includes subjects like physical education, political science, history, sociology and many more subjects. And I welcome you all to Havegood online classes. Before starting with the course, I would like to give you a short introduction of Havegood online classes. Actually, it is a platform in which children will get interactive online classes at very affordable prices. So, it is my humble request to all of you that if you are not registered on Havegood online classes, so get yourself registered and don't wait for anyone. And now let's start with the course that I am going to teach you political science of class 12, and in today's video we'll start with the very first chapter of book 2nd. Before starting with the chapter, I would like to give you a short introduction of political science. Actually, there are two books in political science of class 12. The first is World Politics and the second is Indian Politics since Independence. In book first, we are going to study about the politics of world, and in book second, we are going to study about the politics of in India which after independence. And in today's video, we will study about the very first chapter of book second, that is the challenge of nation building. In this chapter, we will cover about the challenges which India faced just after independence, like to shape a nation was a major challenge which India faced, and the second challenge was to establish democracy, and the third challenge which India faced was the development of the country. These are some three challenges which India faced. Now let's start, and these are some topics which we have to cover in today's video. The very first topic is challenges which India faced. The second is the two goals which India had, which government, the two goals of the government at that time. And the third is partition, the process of partition we are going to study in today's video. And the fourth is consequences of the partition, what was the result of that partition. And the fifth is integration of princely states and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's contribution. In today's video, we will cover all these topics. So now let's get started with the very first topic, that is the challenges which India faced. There were three challenges faced by India. The first is to shape a nation. The second is to establish democracy. And the third is development of the country. Development of the weaker section of society. These are the three challenges which India faced just after independence, and they can be remembered by a short trick, that is DUD. D stands for democracy, U stand for unity, and D stand for development. It is a short trick through which you can remember, that is DUD. D-U-D. D stands for democracy, to establish democracy, and U stands for unity, that is to shape a nation, and D stands for development, that is to development of the weaker section of society. These are the three challenges which India faced just after independence. Now we'll study about the two goals of Indian government. दो गोल थे इंडियन गवर्नमेंट के. द वेरी फर्स्ट इज टू एस्टैब्लिश डेमोक्रेसी. At the very first step, India chose to be established democracy. India did not wanted dictatorship. India did not wanted one party rule. India did not wanted monarchy, and so India wanted to establish democracy in the country. So the very first goal is to establish democracy, and the second goal is the development of the weaker section of society. Two goals. To establish democracy and development of the country. Development of the country. These are the two goals of the Indian government at that time. But They are the not only goal, the main supreme importance was given to shape a nation, to unite the country. Actually, at the time of independence, India got independence in 1947, and on the midnight of 14th and 15th August 1947, our country was disintegrated into two parts, that is India and Pakistan. The country was disintegrated into two parts, India and Pakistan. Okay, at the midnight of that day. And on that day, our former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru has delivered a speech, that is Tryst with Destiny. That speech is known as Tryst with Destiny. It was a speech delivered by a former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru on the midnight of 14th and 15th August 1947. On the midnight of 14th and 15th August. This speech is really very important for 1 mark question. It can be asked in objectives as well, that who has given the speech, the famous speech Tryst with Destiny. It was given by Jawaharlal Nehru on the midnight of 14th and 15th August on Red Fort. Okay, now let's start with the next topic, that is partition. Now we'll study about the unprecedented violence and the trauma of huge displacement, that is partition. India was divided into two parts, India and Pakistan. It was divided just because of एक Muslim League एक political party थी. ठीक है, we'll study about Muslim League. It was a political party in colonial India which saved the interest of minority Muslim people. एक मुस्लिम लीग एक political party थी जिसका head था मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना. मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना was the head of Muslim League and it was a political party for the minority Muslim people. Okay, मुस्लिम लीग के जो head मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने एक theory दी थी, that theory is known as two nation theory. This is a famous theory given by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He states that he gave two nation theory, and this theory states that India comprises two nations. India did not have one nation, it comprises two nations. The first is for Hindus and the second is for Muslim, that is India for Hindus and Pakistan for Muslim people. And according to two nation theory, our country was disintegrated into two parts, that is India and Pakistan. Although it was not favored by NEFA, it was not favored by Khan Jafar Abdul Khan, and neither it was favored by Congress, but still it happened and our country was disintegrated into two parts. And now we'll study about the process of partition. What were the problems faced by both the governments during partition? That first was that no single belt of Muslim majority belt. There was no single Muslim majority belt. The first point is there was no single there was no single belt of Muslim majority. कोई एक single belt नहीं था Muslim majority का, and because of this reason country एक East Pakistan एक West Pakistan बना था. Just suppose that it is India. Just suppose that it is India. तो यहाँ पे मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी थी एंड यहाँ पे मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी थी. तो ये डिसाइड किया गया था कि ये ईस्ट पाकिस्तान होएगा, ईस्ट पाकिस्तान, एंड इट विल बी कंसिडर्ड एज वेस्ट पाकिस्तान, and there will be a large territorial land which will divide East and West Pakistan, and this area will be considered as India. ऐसे डिवाइड किया गया था इंडिया को ईस्ट एंड वेस्ट पाकिस्तान के अंदर. ठीक है. द सेकेंड प्रॉब्लम वॉज नॉट ऑल वांटेड टू ज्वाइन विद पाकिस्तान. दिस लाइक नॉट ऑल मुस्लिम पीपल वांटेड टू ज्वाइन विद पाकिस्तान. Not all wanted. Not all wanted to join with Pakistan. Actually, Khan Jafar Abdul Khan, he was famous and he is known as Frontier Gandhi. He did not wanted to join with Pakistan. He wanted to remain with Indian Union. Remember one thing, that he is known as Frontier Gandhi. Because he followed the path of Gandhiji, and so he is known as Frontier Gandhi. It is really important. It can be asked in objective question as well, that who is known as Frontier Gandhi. Khan Jafar Abdul Khan is known as Frontier Gandhi because he adopted the path of Gandhiji. Okay, he did not wanted to join with Pakistan. And the third major problem was that minority was there on both the sides. That is minority. Minority was there on both the sides. Just like if we are considering, if we are talking about India, तो इंडिया के अंदर पार्टीशन के बाद में 1950 तक 12% मुस्लिम प्रेजेंट थे, ठीक है. तो इसी में पाकिस्तान के अंदर भी हिंदूज और सिख की माइनॉरिटी थी. तो उन माइनॉरिटी का क्या करना है, बिकॉज अगर वो पाकिस्तान में रहेंगे तो वहाँ पे फिर वायलेंस होएगा और उसके बाद में वो उनको मारेंगे एंड ऑल दिस विल हैपन. वायलेंस ही वायलेंस होएगा. तो माइनॉरिटीज़ को सबसे ज़्यादा मेन सफरर्स माइनॉरिटीज़ थे. बोथ साइड्स ऑफ बोथ द साइड्स मतलब माइनॉरिटीज़ थी. पाकिस्तान के अंदर भी माइनॉरिटी थी हिंदू और सिख की, और इंडिया के अंदर भी माइनॉरिटी थी मुस्लिम पीपल्स की, ठीक है. सो इट वाज द मेजर प्रॉब्लम, एंड दीज आर 3 प्रॉब्लम्स व्हिच वर फेस्ड ड्यूरिंग द प्रोसेस ऑफ पार्टीशन. इट कैन बी आस्क्ड इन 2 marks and it can be asked in 4 marks as well, so prepare it well. Now let's move to the next point, that is the consequences of partition. And what are the consequences of partition? Now we'll study about what are the consequences of partition. The very first consequence is that displacement. It is a major problem, displacement. Huge population was displaced from one country to another just because of their religion. Approximately 80 lakh people were displaced from one country to another just because of their religion. The ratio was 80 lakh people. 80 lakh people were forced to migrate. What they get is just they will get a notice of before 6 hours, and within few hours they have to leave their country. Okay, and this was a major problem faced by the people. Because of this displacement, there was a huge loss of unremovable property. The second consequence was the huge loss of unremovable property. There was a huge loss of unremovable property. If I am displacing from India to Pakistan, then how can I take my property from there, right? I can just take my jewelry, I can take my utensils and all important sort of things, but I cannot take that land along with me, right? So there was a huge loss of unremovable property. That property, और इतना टाइम उस टाइम नहीं था कि मैं अपनी ज़मीन, अपनी प्रॉपर्टी वो किसी और के नाम लगा दूँ, पैसे उनसे ले लूँ. इतना उसके पास टाइम नहीं था. वो सिर्फ एक नोटिस मिलता था उनको कि आपको घर छोड़ के जाना पड़ेगा अपनी कंट्री में, एंड विद इन फ्यू आवर्स दे हैव टू लीव दैट कंट्री. सो देयर वाज एन ह्यूज लॉस ऑफ अनरिमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी. Okay, the next consequence is genocides and atrocides. Genocides and atrocides was another major problem, because 5 to 10 lakh people were killed in these riots, in the violence in the fight between Hindu and Muslim. Approximately 5 to 10 lakh people were killed. Now let's move to the next point, that is communal zones. Most important point among these, that their communal zones were created in Punjab and Bengal. These were two communal zones which were created due to partition, because पंजाब के अंदर क्या था कि मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी भी थी और सिख मेजॉरिटी भी थी, सिख्स भी मेजॉरिटी में थे और मुस्लिम भी मेजॉरिटी में थे, तो उस टाइम वायलेंस वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा अपराइज हो गया था, बहुत वायलेंस हो गया था, डिस्ट्रक्शन बहुत कॉज हुई थी, क्योंकि अगर पाकिस्तान के अंदर कोई हिंदू है या सिख है तो वो पाकिस्तान वाले क्या कर रहे थे, मुस्लिम पीपल क्या कर रहे थे, उनको मारे जा रहे थे। एंड द सेम वाज हैपनिंग विद इंडिया इन द मुस्लिम्स एज वेल। जो इंडिया के अंदर अगर कोई मुस्लिम है तो इंडियंस क्या करेंगे, उसको मार देंगे मुस्लिम को। तो ये कम्युनल जोन्स क्रिएट हो गए थे। द फर्स्ट कम्युनल जोन इज पंजाब एंड द सेकंड कम्युनल जोन इज बंगाल। ओके, द नेक्स्ट इज वुमेन्स। Women were the most sufferer of the partition. They were raped, they were looted, they were kidnapped badly. Okay, they were killed badly. Some of them were forced to commit suicide and some of them were forced to marry with the unknown persons. Okay, उस टाइम क्या हुआ था कि वुमेन्स को बहुत रेप किया जाता था, तो उनको जन और जमीन, दैट इज टू सेव हिज और हर रिस्पेक्ट, दे वर फोर्स्ड टू कमिट सुसाइड सो दैट वो एनिमी के हैंड में ना जाए। अगर कोई एनिमी के हैंड में जाएगा तो वो उसको किडनैप कर देगा, उसकी ज्वेलरी ले लेगा या फिर उसका रेप कर देगा। एंड दिस वाज अ मेजर प्रॉब्लम। वुमेन सबसे ज़्यादा सफ़र कर रही थी क्योंकि उनके हस्बैंड्स की डेथ होगी तो फिर वो किसके ऊपर डिपेंड करेगी। विद द स्मॉल किड्स, विद ऑल दोज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, दे वर द मेन सफरर्स ऑफ द पार्टीशन। द कंडीशन वॉज पैथेटिक, and the conditions of the women and the condition that the grief and that pain was described by the poets and the writers in their poems and in their articles and in the newspapers as well. It was narrated in the stories as well, that pain and that grief of those people who left their houses at a notice. Within few hours there was a huge loss of unremovable property. They lost their family, they lost their family, they lost their jewelries, they lost their utensils, they lost their property, and there was a huge trauma of displacement and unprecedented violence. So the partition was not less than a pathetic conditions, and even that policemen and local authorities were reacting like if इंडिया में अगर कोई मुसलमान को मार रहा है और लोकल अथॉरिटी इंडियन है तो वो उनको कुछ नहीं कहेगी, दे विल नॉट टेक स्टेप्स अगेंस्ट दैट वायलेंस, बट दे आर reacting according to their religion. They forgot their duty and they were reacting according to their religion. This made the condition more pathetic. If local rulers, if local authorities and local police were अगर उनको अपनी ड्यूटी, अगर रिस्पॉन्सिबल वो होते, अगर अपनी ड्यूटी को ढंग से करते ना, तो इतना वायलेंस तो होता ही नहीं. They were main reason for that violence. And now we're going to study about the integration of princely state, our next topic. Next is integration of princely states. So now I'll tell you that what is princely states and what are provinces. Actually, when Britishers left India, in India there were two kind of states. The first is princely state and the second is provinces. There were two type of states: princely states and provinces. There were two types of state. The first is princely state and the second is provinces. Princely states were those states which were ruled by local kings and queens under the supremacy of Britishers. They were ruled by and provinces were those states which came directly under the control of British government. Provinces were those states which came directly under the control of British government, and princely states were those states which were ruled by local kings and queens under the supremacy of British government, and this is known as paramountcy and suzerainty. This is known as paramontachy and suzerainty. It is an important term. It can be asked in 1 mark question that define paramontachy. It is known as paramontachy. That paramontachy means that the princely states were ruled by local kings and queens, but they were under the supremacy of British government, and this is known as paramontachy. तो ऐसी 2 टाइप ऑफ स्टेट्स थी, ठीक है. जो प्रोविंसेस थी ना, जब ब्रिटिशर्स ने छोड़ा, तो जब ब्रिटिशर्स ने अपने इंडिया को इंडिपेंडेंट किया, तब उन्होंने प्रोविंसेस तो डायरेक्टली गवर्नमेंट के अंडर आ गई थी, वो इंडियन यूनियन की पार्ट बन गई थी क्योंकि वो गवर्नमेंट की अंडरटेकिंग थी. बट जो ये प्रिंसली स्टेट्स थी ना, ये टोटल 565 प्रिंसली स्टेट्स थी इंडिया के अंदर. Princely state, they were total 565 princely states, or when Britishers left, they put a condition that they state that princely states are the free to choose their future. If they wanted to join with Pakistan, they can join with Pakistan, and if they wanted to join themselves with Indian Union, they can join themselves with Indian Union, and if they wanted to remain independent, they can remain independent. And due to this, it created really trouble, because some of the princely states thought that we wanted to stay independent, we wanted to make a new nation of our independent nation. They wanted what they feel that they wanted to make independent nation, okay. But for our top political leaders, just like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, and many others, thought that it is most necessary to join these princely state with Indian Union, so that India can get a proper shape, right. अगर ये 565 प्रिंसली स्टेट अलग अलग नेशन अपना बना लेती, बहुत छोटे छोटे प्रिंसली स्टेट्स नहीं हैं, अगर अलग अलग अपना नेशन बना लेती तो इंडिया की एक प्रॉपर शेप भी नहीं आएगी और उसको रूल करना, गवर्न करना भी बहुत मुश्किल टास्क हो जाएगा. तो इसलिए जो टॉप पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स थे, उन्होंने मीटिंग पार्लियामेंट के अंदर बैठ के ये सोचा कि इन प्रिंसली स्टेट्स को इंडियन यूनियन के साथ जोड़ना बहुत ज़रूरी है. एंड सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल था सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल का. ही वॉज द डिप्यूटी एंड होम मिनिस्टर. He was the first deputy and home minister of independent India. Okay, he played the major role in persuading these 565 princely states to join with Indian Union. Now I'll tell you how he used his diplomatic power actually. There were 3 reasons to join with Indian Union. 3 रीज़न थे जिसकी वजह से वो गवर्नमेंट चाहती थी प्रिंसली स्टेट्स को इंडियन यूनियन के साथ ज्वाइन करना. द फर्स्ट रीज़न इज़ people's desire. Actually, people of those region wanted to join with Indian Union because they wanted to establish democracy in their region, but due to the monarch rule, due to the monarch king, they could not do so. So they wanted to join with Indian Union so that they can establish democracy in their region. And the second reason was government was flexible in giving autonomy. The second reason is that government was flexible in giving the autonomy to specific region. And the third reason is the backdrop of partition. एक्चुअली पार्टीशन की वजह से बहुत सारा वायलेंस एंड ट्रॉमा, अनप्रेसिडेंट वायलेंस हो गया था. तो इसलिए एक मेजर रीज़न था कि इन 565 प्रिंसली स्टेट्स को इंडियन यूनियन के साथ जोड़ना. दीज आर द 3 इंपॉर्टेंट रीजंस व्हाई द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया वांटेड टू जॉइन these 565 princely states with themselves. And there was an agreement signed between the government of India and the local kings and queens of those princely states, and that agreement is known as instrument of accession. It was an agreement signed between the government of India and the rulers of local kings and queens, rulers of princely states. It was an agreement which was signed between the government of India and the rulers of those princely states. It is important, it can be asked in objective questions as well. And after signing this agreement, this means that now they are part of Indian Union. Okay, and now they are part of central government as well. And these are some reasons and instrument of accession, as I have already told you that it was an agreement. And now the last term is there were four princely states which created trouble in signing that instrument of accession. Out of those 565 states, there were 4 states which really created trouble in signing that instrument of accession. These 4 are, the very first is Jammu and Kashmir, the second is Junagadh, the third is Manipur, and the fourth is Hyderabad. These are the 4 states who created trouble in signing the instrument of accession. But Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, he is known as the unity man of India, and he was deputy and home minister of India after independence. He was the first deputy and home minister after independent India. Okay, he played the major role in convincing these 565 states to sign that instrument of accession. He used his diplomatic power to convince them to sign that instrument of accession and to be the part of Indian Union. But the 4 states really created trouble, but soon and gradually they also signed the instrument of accession. Now in the upcoming video, we are going to study about the reorganization of states, how states were formed. Till then, thank you for leaning up your ears and wait for my upcoming video.